Welcome back. In this new video, I'd like to be sharing an extraordinary story. And this is the story of a brave pilot. You know, what this young man did, young soldier, did, and during Pearl Harbor attack, made him a truly hero. And this is the story of Phil Rasmussen. It was December 7, 1941, a day that every American of just about any age knows about. Was the day the United States was physically attacked at Pearl Harbor. The attack launched the country into World War II and changed the way we lived, worked, and would fight in the future. So much death and destruction occurred that morning. 2,403 American sailors and civilians died that day, and 1,178 were wounded. 19 United States Navy ships and 347 military aircraft were damaged or destroyed. The attack was devastating, both strategically and psychologically, to United States of America. Phil Rasmussen was what you'd refer to as a young average fighter pilot. He was born 11 May 1918 in Boston, Massachusetts, to parents who had immigrated to the United States from Denmark years earlier. He led a normal life in the Boston area as a young boy, and after finishing his high school, he attended Gettysburg College in Pennsylvania. Upon graduating from college, Rasmussen enlisted in the United States Army Air Corps and went on to fulfill his dream of becoming a fighter pilot, earning an assignment to the 46th Pursuit Squadron at Wheeler Field. The 23-year-old second lieutenant was half asleep, standing at his barracks latrine sink, brushing his teeth in his purple-striped pajamas, when suddenly, out of the bedroom window, he observed what appeared to be a small airplane barreling down on the not-so-distant flight line. He saw an object drop from the aircraft. A few seconds passed, and then a tremendous explosion was first seen and then felt as a huge fireball erupted into the air. The aircraft pulled up. Hard as it overflew his barrack, Rasmussen identified large red cycle, or meatballs as the American fighter pilots called them, painted on the fuselage and wings. It was a Japanese Zero, and it had just bombed Wheeler Field on the island of Oahu, in Hawaii. Line up wingtip to wingtip. Rasmussen wasted no time. He ran to his room, grabbed his shoes, his aviation headset, and his .45 caliber pistol and belt, and beat feet to the fight line, still in his pajamas. In an attempt to spoil potential Japanese sabotage, the command had made the decision to park aircraft wingtip to wingtip so they could be guarded more effectively However, this tactical error made for mouth-watering targets for the Japanese dive-bombing pilots. Rasmussen watched as aircraft exploded all around him. An aircraft would be it causing a chain reaction down the line, igniting closely parked aircraft after aircraft after aircraft. The entire fleet was going up in flames. But further down the flight line stood several older Curtiss P-36A Oaks. They weren't much to look at, but as far as Rasmussen was concerned, this wasn't the time for Becker to be choosy. Dogfights over Carnegie Bay. Carnegie. It's a bit difficult to pronounce this word. Rasmussen and 3 other pilots scrambled to the aircraft, cranked the engines, taxied them to relative safety while they were armed up, and quickly got airborne during a lull in the attack. They formed up and flew east towards Carnegie Bay, where they were immediately engaged by 11 Japanese Zeros. The 4 ships split up, each taking turn dogfighting with several bandits. Rasmussen downed 1 Zero and damaged another, even though one of his .30 caliber machine guns was jammed at a .50 caliber was only working intermittently. It was then engaged by a 3rd bandit, who flew straight at him in an attempt to ram his Curtiss fighter. While engaged head-on, Rasmussen also took hits from yet another Zero closing in on him. Rasmussen felt like he had hit a wall. His P-36A shattered, and then his canopy exploded and departed the aircraft. Enemy bullets ruptured his hydraulic lines, leaving him with no ability to lower his landing gear or brake once on the ground. The cable running from his foot pedals to the rudder had been severe, making it impossible to control the yaw of the aircraft. On top of all that, his radio was reduced to a mangled mess of wires and pieces, leaving him with no communication capabilities. Rasmussen damaged P-36A spun into the billowing clouds of Carnegie Bay as tried to maintain control of his aircraft. After breaking out of the weather at about 5,000 feet, he was able to right the badly damaged fighter, but then once the initial shock of being shot up had worn off, he realized he had sustained injuries to his head when the canopy had exploded. Rasmussen gingerly assessed the condition of his head, fearing he would find half of his skull missing. Luckily, his injuries were superficial, as the flying plexiglass shards had simply knocked his headset off of his head and threatened his air with pieces of plastic. Rasmussen escaped into the billowing clouds and steered his crippled P-36A toward Wheeler Field, where he was able to successfully land without any hydraulic braking rudder control or at a wheel, as he eventually discovered during his post-flight workaround. The Pajamas Pilot was indeed lucky to be alive, as his P-36A oak had been riddled with over 500 bullet holes. Second Lieutenant Phil Rasmussen was awarded the Silver Star for his courageous acts in his P-36A over Kaneohe Bay on December 7, 1941. He continued to serve his country during World War II against the Japanese, getting his second kill in 1943. Rasmussen eventually earned a second Silver Star, 4 Air Medals, and a Distinguished Flying Cross. After 25 years of a faithful service, Phil Rasmussen retired from the United States Air Force as a lieutenant colonel in Florida. However, his legacy and story as the Pajamas Pilot at Pilaba continue to live on the hearts and minds of aviation enthusiasts. And this is the story of Phil Rasmussen I want to share with you. Thank you so much for watching.